Okay. And start transmission. Great. لكن do you remember where we reached last week؟ وين وصلنا نحن؟ تذكرين شيء؟
هول قطعناهم دكتور. من هون لازم
وصلنا
كنا
على
نبلش.
API framework.
صح.
الميجر building blocks. خلاص. Okay. عظيم. Again, لكن back to our Android system. نحن كنا حكينا on general about the development of mobile application, requirement, the challenges, the scope of your work, the categories of applications. And we started on this slide speaking about Android application. كمان كنا حكينا عن Android itself. أخذنا كتير إذا بدكم information عن الديفلوبمنت تبع ال IDE أو ال API ال SDK. أخذنا information عن ال APIs ال versions of APIs of Android. Okay. كمان مرقنا عن الاب security, why using Linux on Android, Android runtime, the virtual machine on Android, native libraries used in Android. And now we will start speaking about the major building blocks in Android application. هلا حقيقة المفروض you should be familiar مع هودي الميجر building blocks اللي هن الاكتيفيتي، السيرفيس، الكونتنت بروفايدر والبرودكاست ريسيفر. هلا حقيقة نحن بلشنا بالاكتيفيتي اوريدي بهيدا الكورس، ولكن اللي عم ناخذهم ضمن سيشن الادفانس ديفلوبمنت هن ريكوايرد لهيدا الكورس، بس انا عم بعطيهم هونيك على التيمز عم بيكونوا ضمن هونيك، لان هن required for both courses. Okay. So اخذنا الاكتيفيتي واخذنا الانتنت واخذنا how to create an activity, create layout, create a Java, inflate an XML file to our activity, how to navigate from activity to activity, how to use views. Still, we are going to go through the service, okay, available in Android development, which is as well as the activity a major building block, and the content provider and broadcast receiver. In the Android manifest, all of these major building blocks should be registered. مثل ما شفنا انه when we are creating an activity, we will go to our manifest, we will say this is the launcher activity, this is the main activity, and we have some filter in our activity. So all the building blocks of our application should be included in the Android manifest. API framework major building activity blocks as for activity, service, content provider, and broadcast receiver. As we can see that the Android application run in separate process, an inner process communication, which is the ICP, which is based on Android interface definition language AIDL interface, and use a component that have to be declared in Android manifest file. So as I said, these major building components are running in separate process and inter-processing communication based on Android AIDL, Android Interface Definition Language, and these components have to be declared in the Android manifest. So each, as we are looking here on this process, which is an intent navigating to an activity A. So, using intent method, we can navigate to activity B. Using a server's binder, we can navigate to a local service. So this is at Android runtime, VM, and another process, which is a remote service working at Android runtime as well. And these both processes are inter-process communication through AIDL. So the service process could be a background process, a different process doing something which is not on the activity, but it is in the background on a separate process. Intents. We already implemented intents in our work on our session. So it is a messaging object to publish events or request action from other component. It contains action and data, as we have seen. For example, the action view, which is the content and people that display information about the person whose identifier is 1. This as for an example. It uses it has the three fundamental use cases for the intent. One, to start a new instance of an activity. Well, as we implemented it to start a new instance of activity, we can start a service as well, and we can deliver a broadcast receivable by an app on the device. We have seen two types of intents, the explicit intents, and the other type is implicit intent. For the explicit intent, it specifies the receiver component by name. So components referred by class name is immediately started. Example, a new activity in your application. So the intent know the source, where you are, and the destination when we are speaking about explicit intent. Where in the implicit intent, no specific destination or a receiver, but a general action to be performed. You know where you are going from, you know the source, but you don't know exactly what is the receiver or what is the destination. You know the action you want to be done. And we gave, as I remember, an example about, I don't know, making a call. It would choose between several SIM cards or sending data to the browser. If you have several browsers, it will give you the Android system will give you an option. Okay, select. It will give you a browser chooser. Select which browser you want. So you don't know exactly what browser. You will send the action to open a browser. The Android system will give you a drawable of or a chooser for browsers. You can select the browser. So implicit, you know the source, you don't know the destination, but you know the action you want to do to perform. So apps can declare intent filter in their manifest. If multiple app intent filter match, the user has to pick one. As for the browser, example, request another app to show a location on a map. If you have several map application, for example, or this could be another example. If you have several application map, if you are requesting another application to show a location, it will give you an option to choose which map application you want. As for a broadcast receiver, it receives intent sent by send broadcast method. The system broadcast event to app. Example of broadcast methods when the system broadcast for the applications, whatever application you are using, the battery low pop-up, the screen off, the boot completed, example, connectivity change method. So app broadcast, example for app broadcast, the new contact entry has been added, and it's known. This example is really nice because it's well known the efficiency of this broadcast in WhatsApp, because if you add a contact to your contact application, it will directly will be broadcasted to WhatsApp, to Instagram, to Telegram, to other application to add this content and benefit from this connectivity. Broadcast in manifest file, as we can see, when we declare a broadcast receiver, as we declare the intent filter, it's similar to it. We declare a receiver name, we name it, and intent filter an action, which was include the action of the intent filter for this receiver, as for connectivity change, for example. And in the this is on the XML file and or the layout file. On the Java file, we can declare the connectivity receiver class extending the broadcast receiver and constructing the on receive, giving the context, okay, for this, the intent, okay, and we can launch log.d connectivity receiver.d class to get sample name and give the ample of the action of the intent get action. As an example for services, we can see the life cycle for the application, okay, which we have seen on our lab, okay. The means for service are to perform tasks in background, so we can perform services tasks at background of our activity, start service, bind service, so expose functionality to other application as for bind service. We can creation of a new thread in the onCreate method. Local and remote services can be done when connected, when communication is done by an interface exposed by the service. So it's based on Java local or based on the Android interface definition language for access from other processes or remotely. As we can see, the call so we are using the start service to call to onCreate. So on start command, we can run our service. The service is stopped by itself or a client. So we are using unbounded service. Then it will go for destroy and service shutdown. In case we are using the bounded service, a call will use the bind service on create. On bind method, the client are bound to the service. All client unbind by calling unbind service if required. And then we go to the unbind method on destroy method. Activity. We have seen and we have implemented the activity on the lab. So it is single focused thing that the user can do. It's where you are, where you can do your work. So activity is responsible for creating the window that your application use to draw and receive event from other applications. And we have learned that the activity are stack functionality, have stack functionality. Each activity could be on top of the previous activity. So we have activity 1, activity 2 on top of activity 1, activity 3, and so on. So you can go back. It will go. You can go forward in your navigation or backward with your navigation. And we have the activity life cycle as well. So as a single screen of application is your activity, it extends the activity class. It consists of user interface element. As for views, we have several views and type of views that you have seen that respond to events. it may return a value to another activity. It may, I don't know, launch a toast. It may send some data, retrieve some data. When a new screen opens, the previous is put on a destroy stack. Method of activity reflect the life cycle. So we have the life cycle of the activity, which I remember that we implemented and we have tested on the lab, but it's great to have a look through it. So we have activity launch. It starts with on create. It will go to the on start, okay, and then it will go to the on resume. Then the activity is running. If you let me suppose that you swipe to another activity, so it will go to on pause method or on pause status. A user return to the activity. If you return, it will go back to on resume and the activity will be running. Okay. If another activity comes into the background, so it will go to the activity is if the activity is no longer visible, it will go to the from on pause to on stop. Okay. If the user navigate to the activity back after the on stop, it will go to the on restart, on start, on resume, and it will go back as an activity running. If it goes to the activity is finished or being destroyed by the system, it will go to on destroy. Okay, and the activity is shut down. We have seen as well the fragments. Okay, and we did implement the fragments on our لاب. حدا يذكرني بس الامبلمنتيشن كان على اي فانكشناليتي بقلب الموبايل. عملنا امبلمنتيشن للفراجمنت، بس على شو عملناها؟
دكتور على شو أصلا عملنا 3 تاب وصرنا نشتغل على
Exactly, على tab and swiping. So on the same screen we created several tabs and we did the tab and swipe functionality. So and we said that if it depends on the screen of our device, if it is tablet, tabs could be on the left and we'll have the fragment on the right. If you have some handset or small screen, so you'll have the tabs and you can swipe between the fragments. So it's a modular section of an activity that has its own life cycle. It receives its own input events and which you can add or remove while the activity is running. So on the same activity, we can have several tabs or several fragment screens. So it's reusable in different activities. Android manifest. The Android manifest is necessary for every application. It describes, this manifest describes the application elements and when they should be initialized or activated. مثل ما قلنا, as for the activity, as for the service, as for the content provider. All the elements, okay, the main elements for our application will be registered on the manifest, okay, to give the application to know where or when they should be initialized or activated. Of permission as well. Application is offering for or need example for the user can grant or deny these permissions. Okay, so these permissions on the Android manifest will be collected on installation the package management and to grant these permissions. To have a screen or a look, for example, Android manifest, we have this Android manifest. See that let me. This is the package name. As we said, it is the package specification. We have a low backup icon. It is giving the icon from the resources, from the map map, and named. It have a label. The label is from the resources, from the string. We have themes. It's as well from the resources. At style, it's giving this theme. There is an activity, and this activity is main activity. It is the main, and it is categorized as a launcher. So from all the fundamental information of our application. So we have seen a handful IDE that was
دكتور صوتك أبدا مش واضح.
with user interface based on screen functionalities. Activity per screen, use the layout, use the views, and we can include our code.
دكتور
مش
أبدا
عم تسمعوني؟
لا أبدا.
مش الحال هلا
أوكي
ولا بعده
هلا
الصوت مش منيح. هلا احسن؟ اوكي طيب
بس فيك ترجع تعيد لنا السلايد اللي قبلها لأنه ما فهمنا منها الصراحة.
هيدي السلايد الاندرويد مانيفست.
اوكي بس سألت عنه.
اوكي كنت عم اقول انا the Android manifest is essential for our application as it provides information about the building component of our application. It is used by the package manager in the installation, okay, to make them ready and to give some permission or to grant some permission to get some permission from the user. هون عندنا example، اوكي نحن هون عندنا مثلا هيدا الباكج نيم اندرويد فيفورت توي، عندنا allow backup true icon is from the resources map label from the string resources as well from at string. The support it support RTL. The theme is from at style. Well, actually, we will have look in the next session tomorrow and Thursday a detail about the speak in details more about the resources, about the style in the resources, and how to work with it. So it provides information as well about the activity or the services or the content provider if there is the broadcast receiver. So here we have information about the activity, name, and the action. So it is the main activity as for action, and it is categorized as a launcher activity. Regarding the Android user interface creation, we have seen that we have on the Android user interface with many features and many views. بعدكم معي؟
ايه بس ما في صوت.
ما في صوت.
هلا اسمعني.
لا هلا ما
شوي
في.
لا هلا.
اوكي طيب نحن وين كنا؟ وين قطع عندكم يعني؟
بأول هذه السلايد.
اوكي لكن again as we have seen on the lab that we have a very useful and very nice user interface tool, which is the Android Studio, providing us with very handful views and view groups, functionality, and methods to implement a great user interface. As we can see that the user interface is based on screens. The activity create and control the screen, one activity per screen, and it contains the application logic as for Java files, the layout, and the views on top of the layout. So views are a visible element of user interface. It's a basic class android.view.view. حدا يعطيني example على views استعملناه نحن باللاب؟ مذكرين شي فيو؟
آخر مرة استعملنا فيو تبع وقتها عملنا الليستنج.
ريسايكلر فيو اخر مره مش هيك؟ which is a bit it's a bit one of the complex views يعني it's very nice. في عندنا الليست فيو، الريسايكلر فيو، الجريد فيو، الاديت تكست تعتبر فيو، التكست التكست فيو هي فيو، الراديو بوتون هي فيو. all of these elements, the picture as itself, we can البutton, they are all considered as views. So layout arrange view on screen. So we have base class اللي هو android.view.view group, okay, which is the layout is group of views. We have a sample of user interface components. مثلا عندنا linear layout, okay, عندنا relative layout, عندنا table row, عندنا الفراجمنت، عندنا table layout، عندنا الديت اند تايم فيوز، عندنا list view، عندنا الريسايكلر فيو اللي هي مش موجوده هون بس نحن استعملناها جريد فيو، سكرول فيو، هوريزونتال فيو، في عندنا اللينير فيو، عندنا الراديو بutton. So there's a lot of views available as a widget and composites and thema depending on their categories. And the view, okay, each view has and will be added to the XML file of the layout. For example, XML based description of this user interface. It's a linear. هيدا التكست بقى له هيدا التكست فيو، بقى
دكتور الصوت كتير عم بيقطش.
جروب الصوت عم بيقطش. اوكي طيب خلينا نجرب هلا نشوف شو بيصير. هلا عم تسمعوني؟
ايه هلا منيح.
طيب خليني اشوف اذا يعني اذا بلحظه معينه حسيتوا الصوت مش مزبوط خبروني لحتى حاول اعدل خلينا اقول الانترنت او شيء. طيب again لكن we are providing this or seeing this XML which is showing us okay the parameter for all the views on this XML file. as I started, we have a linear layout, we have a text group view, sorry. We have a radio group, including 2 radio buttons inside this radio group, and we have a spinner. And for each view, we have some parameters for this view, as for example, مثلا هيدا البutton view, we have the ID, we have the width, the height, and the text inside this button. Okay? It's clear for everybody because this information we already implemented by hand on our lab, but it's essential, so we have to go through it, okay, even to remember and to get it refresh about it. So alternatively, user interface created in code, so it supports off-touch-based interaction. As for example, the set on click listener, we can add the set on click listener to create or to start handling, to automatically generate the handling method for this button on the Java file as well. In addition to the views, we have the network communication in Android. So we can use, or we have the functionality in, as for Java.NET and APIs, we can use the provided as part of Android platform. For example, the HTTP connection is HTTP client, so we can use the HTTP client, and the URL connection is preferred on the network communication of Android. As alternative library, we can use the HTTP component. Okay, example, the Apache HTTP component project, which will be available in the network communication, and we will work on it on our next, or later, not next, مش هذا الأسبوع, maybe the later next week in our lab. We have as well the connectivity manager, which is responsible of monitoring the connectivity state, send a broadcast intent if connection state change. It provides method for accessing network state, as for مثلا get active network info, get all network info, get network info. So بدي منكم حدا يعطيني when I need or I might use the network communication as for the connectivity manager. أنت ممكن استعملها in my application. اعطيني example. تسمعوني؟ وين ممكن أنا استعمل connectivity methods in my application.
مثلا وقت اعمل كونكتنج على سيرفر جديد، او مثلا ابعت لينك على سايت جديد.
Definitely before doing any of these things that you requested is انا بدي اعمل connectivity على سيرفر. اول شيء بدي اروح شوف اول شيء اذا في connectivity، شوف اذا الكونكتيفيتي مثلا هي على الواي فاي، اذا عندي access للانترنت، and then I start parsing my information او اذا بدي exchanging my information with the server. صح ولا لا؟ So I need to use the network communication methods to get this information to parse my to continue my work. So Android persistent storage. In addition to views, in addition to communication, we have the storage. As for storage, we have SQLite, okay, a local database with SQL and transaction support, which is a database maintained in a single file in our application. It's a base class, which is android.database.sqlite.sqlite database. Execute the SQLite query, which using the SQLite database query method. So are using the query methods. We have a second option, the shared preference, which is the base is class اللي هو android.content.shared preference. It store private primitive data in key value pairs. We have internal storage, which is store private data on the device memory as files, and we have external storage, which is store public data on the shared external storage as files. The content provider, our storage is very persist in our application making. صح ولا لا? So what is the best scenario? Why they have SQLite? We have shared preference, internal, external storage. شو البست scenario usually to make your application؟ هذا يعطيني أول شيء شو possible scenarios، بعدين خلينا نحكي which is the best scenario. شو possible scenarios to save your information of your application. شو بعد انا عم بسأل، بدي منكم جواب. عم تسمعوني؟ الو؟
ايه دكتور عم نسمع، بس قصدك مثلا نحفظ الداتا تبعنا على الابليكيشن، مثلا مثل نستعمل مثلا اليوزر نيم والباسورد مثلا نحطهم بالاس كيو ال لايك بالداتا بيز.
اوكي اكزامبل، اذا انا عم بعمل ابلكيشن فور ستودنتس in the university. اوكي اذا انا اوكي خلقت مثلا عملت تيبل هي مثلا ستودنت تيبل في بقلبها البارامترز تبع الستودنت. اوكي فانا في اخلق تيبل بقلب اس كيو ال لايت وحطه وصير اعمل سيف بالفيو، يفوت يسيف الداتا بقلب هيدي التيبل. صح؟ This is option 1. shared preference إذا أنا بدي أحطها بمحل في عندي elements أو data كتير essential، مش شرط الداتابيز، في استخدم shared preference. طيب في عندي الانترنال ستورج external storage. internal storage الداتا عم تتسيف بقلب الميموري، اوكي، او بقلب الميموري تبع هذا التليفون. external إذا أنا عم saving on external storage as files. طيب سؤال، is it feasible إنه أنا to store my student data on my application, on my SQLite application؟ شيء feasible يعني شيء له is it essential مهم ولا لا؟ حقيقة منه كتير feasible. I think إنه منه كتير feasible and you should look for, it's a good option to have for some query exchange with your main database. Okay, ليش؟ because for instance إذا أنت عندك database مثلا بالapplication فيها database وهي database على التليفون تبعك، شو يعني؟ يعني هاي الداتا is not shared. إذا أنا عندي الداتا عم فوتها على الابلكيشنز وحتضل على التليفون تبعي، ما حتكون shared مع كل الستودنتس أو اليونيفرسيتي. هذا واحد. اثنين، قديش حيكون حجم هيدي الداتا؟ اوكي، وقديش it will increment، قد ايه بيزيد عدد التلاميذ، بيزيد عدد البارامترز والداتا قد ايه حيزيد، وقد ايه التليفون بيستوعب. يعني قد ايه حتى لو وات ايفر انا بدي اخلي داتا لهيدا اليوزر بقلب التليفون تبعه، قد ايه ممكن تاخذ من الستورج اللي عنده، قد ايه عنده ستورج، قد ايه ممكن تاخذ، وممكن ما يتقبل هالموضوع اليوزر، يقول لك انه هاي الابلكيشن is loaning my phone. اذا كان عم ياخذ كثير سايز من التليفون رح ياخذ قرار يمكن انه لا انا ما بدي امشي فيها. So it's more used for exchanging okay parameters and queries with a database. Usually we are used with a data file, cloud data file. So usually they are using مثلا JSON files and they are exchanging the information through the communication method or database query. Okay, so you are sending query built on SQL to parse information to your database and to get information from the cloud database. اوكي
دكتور بس بهالحالة بده يكون ضل على طول عندنا كونكشن مضبوط. نحن عم نحكي اذا بدنا نشغل الابلكيشن اوف لاين.
صح اوكي.
بدنا
سو 100% اذا بدك تشغل الابلكيشن اوف لاين you can make خلينا نقول انا مثلا synchronized database انه والله هذا الابلكيشن بيشتغل اوف لاين فيه يعبي داتا بس once gone online I will synchronize my data with the main server. مثلا انا بعطي example as a logic لانه اذا انا كان عندي هاي الداتا بس على الابلكيشن عندي اوكي اذا انا عم بحكي عن داتا بيز يعني عم بحكي انا عن داتا لشركه يعني هاي الداتا ما حدا في يشوفها الا انا صح؟ So it's feasible انه انت يكون عندك داتا انت you are incrementing data بس ما حدا بيقدر يشوف هاي الداتا الا انت. If this is your target okay you can use SQLite as a database itself but كمان عندك problem تانية هي regarding the storage okay the size. So you need to take care لانه نحن بنحكي عن تليفونات يعني التليفونات قد ايه حجم السايز حيكون تبعه انه ما بعرف هلا وصلوا لل1 تيرا واسعارهم عم تكون عاليه ال1 تيرا صح؟ سو يعني قد ايه حياخذ يكون حجم الداتا اللي عندك لهيدي الابلكيشن only one application itself. اذا عم نحكي تليفون كله نحن عم نحكي 1 تيرا. هلا في تليفونات اقل بكثير في تليفونات 256 في تليفونات 128 في تليفونات اقل كمان مزبوط. So all these parameters should be taken in consideration when you are building your application, even that you have storage, persistent storage as for SQL, but you have other options. يعني ممكن تستعمل shared preference to save الكي for data synchronization والداتا تبعك يكون في عندك شيء بارت هو اوف لاين صغير والبارت الاكبر هو بيعمل سينكرونايز وبيضل اونلاين على شيرد سيرفر. هون عم نحكي عن ابلكيشن بده داتا كبيره. اذا بتقولي لا بدنا ابلكيشن الماكسيموم الداتا تكون اوف لاين وتصل لكم ميجا اوكي اتس اوكي. سو ديبندينج اكيد على الريكوايرمنت. تمام؟
دكتور ما شاء الله.
Great. So content provider, we have as well a content provider which is sharing of data between application, an abstraction layer on top of database or file. الانترفيس تبعه هو android.content provider. The content provider like on web server, content URL for access as for example مثلا نحن عندنا هون example provider عم يروح يجيب content ID from a URL. So we can use the content provider for sharing of data between several applications. Implement a standard set of methods for allowing other applications to store and retrieve the data. Content provider implementation for common data type as for calendar or contact will access via content resolver for this content provider. Here we can see the diagram for the persistent storage. As we can see, okay, the content consumer using the get a content resolver will get through the content resolver, which have the query insert, update, delete function, other query functions. Open stream URI, open output stream also need the URI for argument. Here we have which will exchange the data with the data source or database and other data sources as for files if it is online on the cloud, requiring some URI to open the stream and synchronize these data. Beside the fundamental framework component that we have mentioned, okay, and we will have some work with them in our lab. We have some other components, some other important component, but they are not the fundamental. Mainly, we will try our best to take all the fundamental, and we will try to take some of the other components. As for the package manager component, telephony manager component, resource manager component, location manager component, notification manager component. The previous component اللي أخذناهم, building component, the main component, they are the essential, the must you have to know, and these are components that you might use depending on your requirement of the application. إذا الapplication راح تعمل call, it will work with the telephony manager. If the application will use the resources, it will have some resources. If it will give or take or use the location for some reasons, it will have communication or use the location manager component as well. So for the package manager, it's a class for retrieving various kinds of information related to the application packages, okay, that are currently installed on the device. نحن كنا أخذنا example عن الباكج name. أول ما تخلق أي application بيطلب منك unique package name لهيدا application. So this is the identification information about your application for the package manager, including all the information required for your package, okay? And from this package name, it will identify if there is some data sent to your application in the specifically your application on the device, or there is some information required back from the app stores, okay, example, from your application itself, as for update, as for some permissions, as for, I don't know, required application. Telephony manager, as the name of it imposes, it is an API where APIs need to build the phone application and SMS. Application can use method of this class, which is the telephony manager, to get current state of the connection, to make calls, to send SMS, to subscribe to notification. And we have some examples of application that are not the main telephony application of your phone, but it is using the telephony manager methods. Example, Truecaller, Viber, WhatsApp. So all of these, they are using the telephony manager methods to make call or to send some information or some SMS as well. Resources manager. For resources manager, these resources manager packages manage the storing of text string, of layout, audio files, numbers, currency, and graphics. It helps localizing your application using alternative resources according to the user, example, to the user country and language setting. And it is used for internationalization, which is shortcutted by I-18N. As we have seen, نحن هون مثلا أنا I didn't open my Android Studio لأنه هياخد كتير وقت. So I had an image just to remind إنه نحن already اشتغلنا مع الريسورسز اللي في بقلبها دروبر, layout, values as for string and some other dimension, okay? So as you remember, you have worked with the resources manager. So most of the resources are in the resources manager. Example مثلا مذكرين نحن حدا يعطيني example لشو استخدمنا الريسورسز مانجر؟ بالريسايكلر. باخر لكتشر استخدمنا الريسورسز مانجر تو كرييت ابو ريسايكلر. استخدمناها باكثر من مكان مش بوان بليس، استخدمنا سيفرال بليس. اول شيء بالايكون 100% 1
والايتمز كمان والديسكربشن
باللاي اوت كمان اذا بدك. يعني جينا عملنا كرييت للرو لاي اوت فور تو كرييت غير اللاي اوت تبع الاكتيفيتي تبعنا، عملنا لاي اوت للريسايكلر اوكي في بقلبه 1 رو. وكمان استخدمناها بقلب الفاليوز، حطينا بقلبها string to import the data. مظبوط. واستخدمنا كمان الدروبل، اذا مذكرين استخدمنا الدروبل to put some images. So it's internationalization. يعني بدل ما انا اذا كان عندي تشينج مثلا فور اكزامبل بكلر معين، انا عم بستخدم كود لكلر لبوتن معين بمحل معين. اوكي، اذا انا غيرت رايي بدي غير الكلر، بدل ما انا اروح على موضوع اني ارجع غير كل الكودز او كل الكلر المذكور بهي الكود، I can use the resources manager to internationalize my components. Another example for resources manager، مثلا هون عاملين example about a hello string in the string. Okay, string XML file. We have several XML file English عندنا string XML، عندنا string underscore FR XML، عندنا string underscore AR XML. بكل string من هودي we defined a string name hello string. Okay, and giving this message. Okay, but اللي بيختلف هو مثلا بالنيم تبع الفايل. هيدي الفكره. So we have the key اللي هو اسم السترينج الكي، we have the value هي الفاليو اللي عم تتغير. So we used the get resources to putting the message, setting the message. We used the get resources method and get free method, and then we point or we give the path of our string. The internationalization functionality, okay, will automatically go through the several XML file, okay, and it will go through the setting of your mobile or system. إذا كان السيستم English, it will go through the string in English and it will give you the hello. If it is French, it will go for bonjour. Otherwise, if it is Arabic or whatever language. So it is a functionality of internationalization of your resources in your mobile application. And this is an example. I think it's used in most of the operating system. So depending on the operating system انت مثلا شو السيتنج اللي بتحطها لللانجوج، بس تدور operating system هو بيعطيك هيدي الهلو مسج depending على اللانجوج اللي انت الباراميتر او السيتنج اللي انت حطيته كلانجوج default language for your phone. Location manager, as its name point to, it allow application to obtain periodic update of devices geographic location, or to fire an application specified intent when the device enter the proximity of a given geographic location. عندنا example geofencing. So as we said, it's a component which includes some methods about location will be used. Okay, we can have example about it later on. Will be used when you are doing some application that require obtaining some updates about the geographic location of the application, or running some intent or event when you are entering some geofence معين. The location manager uses the GPS, okay, global system, since it is a sensor available on your device. It's the most accurate, slow, battery drain, and primarily for outdoor use. So these are parameters of the GPS and the uses of the Android network provider, which use cell tower and Wi-Fi signal as well. So we have two components for the location, هي ال GPS والأندرويد network provider. هلا الجي بي اس هي اكثر عندها accuracy اعلى، المشكله تبعها هي slow، الثاني مشكله you can't use it all the time because it drains the battery and is a outdoor sensor, functionality sensor. On the other hand, Android network provider, it will check what is the connection provider, the cell tower اللي انت عم تستخدمه او الواي فاي سيجنال من وين، شو اللوكيشن تبعه، and it will give information about your location according to the cell tower او الواي فاي سيجنال، يعني according to the network provider تبع الانترنت تبعك. Notification manager, it alert the user about events مثل example low battery, USB connection, pop up news, whatever. هناخد example عن notification إذا الله راد باللاب. The alerts are made as status bar updates, flashing light, vibration, or any other method, or toast, or whatever method you want to give to your notification. There are additional resources. Okay, for Android architecture, you can go for the YouTube Lifecycle Android API. There's a useful links for the official website, Android Studio, Android API as well. Okay. Any questions for what we have seen till now?
لا دكتور ما شاء الله.
طيب جيد. طيب خليني بلش بنيتيف موبايل ديفلوبمنت on Android. Okay. Outline required skill to make or to do a mobile development, to be a mobile developer, a native mobile developer on Android. There are some required skills. Okay. As we have seen that you should have some knowledge on object oriented. Okay, you need to have some expertise on programming or at least capability to do some programming. Okay, you need to know what to learn, so you need to go through several resources of information about what to learn for this. Example, you have to know some object-oriented knowledge. You need to know Java, so you need to learn some Java. You need to get some expertise. You have to practice. You have to practice working on Java and on Android Android Studio, developing several applications, okay, and several components, building components, which will give you a a very handy tool. There is some offline and online help tool. There are several online courses, and you can do your first application tutorial. Type. Should required skill. First, you need to learn a new API. So we already started in our lab learning our application programming interface on the Android Studio. You have it's a must. Okay, أنا عم ركز عليها. It's a must, and you have to do it. You have to do it on both courses. بالmobile information system وبالadvanced mobile development system. Okay, you have to read online documentation. Okay, and how to do this? What is this and how to do this? يعني مثلا and on each class I'm providing some information about resources. Okay, online for the for every خلينا نقول أنا component I'm explaining. Okay, and you have to go for the Android, for the source developer.android or any other sources. يعني فيك تروح للجافا doc. Okay, and I will start here for example wherever you are working, if it is Java or you are working on Kotlin or you are working on Android development, you should go to the source. It's better, okay, to know how to fish than just getting the fish itself. So اللي انا بدي اقوله لانه you are M2 انتم ما لكم license, okay, I will give you some information. I'm not available to give you all the informations, so you have to dig, okay, to knock the doors and to go yourself, okay, to all the resources, and the resources are available, okay. So مثلا انا هلا عم بعطي example هون. اذا انا بدي الكونتكست بقلب اذا لاحظتوا كثير نحن بيمرق عندنا الكونتكست بكل، اذا كان بالمين كلاس بالمين اكتيفيتي بنستخدم this as a context، او اذا كان عم نحكي عن نيو كلاس عم نخلقه بنخلق context نعمل ديكلير له بنستخدمه as a CTX او CT. So or the مثلا whatever، ممكن انت تروح تشوف السترينج، اوكي، what is the string class or what is the entity class, whatever you are looking for, all the information are available. You can directly مثلا انا هون جيت حطيت خليني ارجع على Android Studio context. Okay. Okay. So give me example studio. Okay. So directly give me the link to the developer.android, whatever class, whatever method I want to go through string. Okay. So command is also always available, and all the required information is given. يعني مثلا انا عندي هون الكونتكست. طيب اوكي، it's a public abstract class. It extends from object. So بالمبدا it's a super class، يعني ما في parent لها. اوكي اوكي. طب what is it about؟ خلينا ننزل شوي. Okay, it is an interface to global information about an application environment. This is an abstract class whose implementation is provided by Android Studio. It allows access to application specific resources and classes. So it is used لأنه أنا عم بستخدم ال resources، okay، مثل layout. So it's giving me the object of the resource and layout, as well as up calls for application level operations such as launching activity, broadcasting, and receiving intent. And it's constant. So I have some constant, so string. So all the information required I can get for my class itself. تمام؟ So context hold, okay. Non-direct subclass, non-subclass, and summary. Okay. So اللي أنا بدي أقوله، so any class, any argument, any method, okay. You want to have information, you can directly, okay, public constructor of the context, okay. You can go for it. So مثلا عندنا الbind isolation service, example, intent, whatever. So what I want to say, you can find all the information for any class or method or argument to know whatever argument the class need، شو البارامترز بدك تعطيهم وشو الريتيرن رح يعطيك اياه، okay, to know exactly what is required. هلا هودي صح they should be your license، يعني هو المفروض بالليسانس انتم تعلمتوهم. But if you are going to learn a new API, a new programming language, it's very easy for you to go through all the documentation books. You follow an online courses if you want, and you should have a passion for programming. Even if can مثلا maybe some of you they are not oriented for programming. Okay, it's not a problem, but it's handful. يعني, okay, you are MIS, Management Information System, so you are going actor for managing some software, managing some solutions, programming solution. Okay, but if you don't have the knowledge about how to do the program, how to understand the code, you won't be able to manage teams of programmer who doing some application. يعني ممكن حد يجي يقول لك اوكي بليز بدي نعمل لي موبايل ابلكيشن اندرويد هيدي مثلا هيدي $100 واعمل لي اياه خلال 3-4 ايام. So you should have the knowledge, okay, and your hand on the programming to know how much time it required to build a mobile application system, the design, the application itself, the coding. Okay, if it's possible to do it in 2 days or 1 week or 1 month or several months, what is the required cost? Okay, these are essential in programming in او software engineering methodology. تمام؟ طيب what to learn؟ شو اللي رح what will put our hands on this course and the advanced development course. The basic Hello application already we did implement it on the lab, displaying single text, running the emulator, deploying a real device, كل هودي done, add button, understand the resource. لهلا بعتقد انا we did implement a resource and we should be understanding the resources, understand Android project anatomy. So we'll go for creating activities and fragment. We did till now. Creating complex graphical user interface using adapters. حدا يعطيني example of a complex user interface we implemented using adapter. متذكرين الادابتر؟
ايه دكتور استعملناها بالريسايكلر فيو.
Recycler view, exactly. We'll go through faking the browser for some information and some resolution. We did implement the intent, explicit and implicit intent. We will go later and through the broadcast receiver. We will do some filing, saving, state and preference, database and container provider, services and background work. What to learn? How they mainly بعتقد أنا we will go through them almost all of them. Okay, تقريبا. What to learn as well as an added value. Geolocation based service. Maybe we'll go through it, maybe not. Okay, we will see depending on our time and on our methodology. But they are not that issue. يعني أنت إذا كان عندك المين concepts, okay, الفاندمنتال concepts, تيجي تقول اوكي انا بدي اعمل جيولوكيشن، شو الميثودز؟ اوكي انا بروح بحط انا جيولوكيشن ميثود للاندرويد ديفلوبمنت، بشوف شو الميثود كل وحده شو بتعمل، how to implement them and there it is. You can go and implement. اذا كان عندك ابلكيشن اوكي بده جيولوكيشن، اذا انت عامل له لهيدا الابلكيشن الاكتيفيتي، عامل له السكرول فيو، عامل له الداتابيز، وعامل له الكونكشن مع الانترنت، وعم تعمل بارسنج للداتا whatever you want، وبدك some additional functionality. مثلا بدك تستعمل the phone، بدك تستعمل to put your hand on the camera to take some screenshot، okay, or to make some scan for a code, QR code, to make a widget, wallpaper, Bluetooth, network, Wi-Fi, status, Wi-Fi connectivity, take information about the internet provider, تعرف location, sensors, hardware access, Google API, all of these, okay, and some other of them are available for you to understand, to go through them and to find the required methods and implement them. As well, it's very essential for you to have a web development خليني put it on this phase, okay, on this context, having a complete development know-how. بيسموها a full stack development. شو هو الفول ستاك؟ انه انت قادر تعمل الفرونت اند والباك اند. سو نحن عم نحكي مش بس على فول ستاك فور ا ويب ابلكيشن، نحن عم نحكي على فول ستاك فور ا موبايل اند ويب ابلكيشن. شو يعني؟ يعني انتوا اوريدي اخذتوا بكورس مختلف عن هذا الكورس شيء له علاقه بويب ديفلوبمنت، عملتوا داتابيز وعملتوا باك اند وفرونت اند، مزبوط؟ عملتوا داتابيز باك اند وفرونت اند، اوكي؟ سو هلا نحن عم نعمل كرييتنج ا موبايل ابلكيشن، ولازم تعملوا حقيقه هذا رح يكون البروجكت اللي حاطلبه منكم، اوكي؟ اللي حاطلبه منكم ل لهيدا الكورس ولا الموبايل ديفلوبمنت كورس، اوكي؟ يعني انا حاحط عليه علامات فور بوث كورسز، اوكي؟ حيكون في قسم من العلامات هو للاساينمنتس او للهوم ورك اللي انا عم بطلبهم، اوكي؟ زائد حيكون قسم من العلامات حيكون العلامه للبروجكت. طيب شو اللي مطلوب بالبروجكت؟ رح نحكي عنه اكيد بالتفصيل، بس mainly to have an خلينا نقول انا a view overview of the requirement. رح يكون مطلوب منكم تعملوا موبايل ابلكيشن، اوكي؟ وحيكون هذا الموبايل ابلكيشن required to be linked to a web application including the back end and the front end, okay? I will try on my next lectures ممكن باللاب to make this web connectivity between the web application and the mobile application, okay? بس حيكون مطلوب منكم انتم اكثر انكم تعملوا complete mobile application, complete web application including back end والfront end. رح تكون كلها يعني انا I will consist most of the علامه of the attendance in both courses رح تكون على هودي، اوكي؟ قليل ما ناس عم تحضر، اوكي؟ ممكن حدا يقول انا ما عم بحضر انه ما عندي انترنت، ممكن حدا يقول انا ما عم بحضر انه ما عندي كهرباء، انا ما عم بحضر لانه عندي شغل، لانه مش قادر، لانه whatever your reason, it's not a problem. اوكي what is required from you, اوكي؟ رح يكون مطلوب انا ححدد نوع معين من الابلكيشن، اوكي؟ رح اطلب منكم تروحوا تعملوا هيدا الابلكيشن، تعملوا له ويب كمان ويب ابلكيشن، وتعملوا باك اند وفرونت اند ولينك them with the mobile application. تمام؟ الحقيقه الاوتكم of this will be getting you to the خلينا نقول انا professional، اوكي؟ full او full stack capability. لازم انتم تظهروا من هذا الكورس، اوكي؟ اللي بيعمل البروجكت بيظهر من هذا الكورس بيقدر يقول I can do a full stack application, a full stack. I'm a full stack programmer. I can do a mobile application, a web application, a front end, and a back end, including the server and all the required connectivity. تمام؟ تمام؟ واضح للكل؟ عم تسمعوني؟ بعدكم
ايه واضح دكتور.
معي مركزين؟ اللي قلته كثير مهم. انا حابعت يعني يمكن نكست ويك، يعني خليني بس اقرب شوي، يضل تقريبا شهر لاخر السمستر. ببعت انا ريكوايرمنت على الواتساب للكل انه راح يكون منكم ريكوايرمنت تعملوا ابلكيشن، وهيدا الابلكيشن اللي حيكون مطلوب منكم. تمام؟ طيب on summary you have to practice a lot again. انا هذا عم لكم اياه لكم، بليز قولوا لاصحابكم. انا حارجع اعيده باللكتشر تبع النكست. ما بعرف اذا انتم عملتوا داونلود للاندرويد ستوديو، اوكي؟ ما بعرف اذا انتم ناطرين لتبلشوا تشتغلوا بالامتحان، اوكي؟ او قبل الامتحان. هلا نحن ما عندنا متر، نحن رايحين على الفاينل، اوكي؟ هذا عم يعطيكم وقت، اوكي؟ بس حقيقه يور كود انا بالامتحان بغض النظر اذا عم بحكي انا بالموبايل انفورميشن او بالادفانس. هلا بالموبايل انفورميشن رح يكون ريتن، يعني كل شيء رح اطلبه رح يكون على الورقه والقلم. سو بالمبدا حتى لو طلبت منكم شيء له علاقه بالكود، اوكي، راح يكون على الورقه والقلم. So it's not like if it's required on the computer lab مثل الادفانسد موبايل ديفلوبمنت. بس بالادفانس موبايل ديفلوبمنت الامتحان رح لازم تسلمني الداتا تكون نظيفه. شو يعني؟ منه مقبول انه انت تسلمني الداتا منها رانينج. هلا بتقول لي running not doing all the tasks اوكي تمام ما في مشكله. But if your data is not running, not compiling, is not accepted. انا ما بقبل اي امتحان او اي حدا يسلم شيء not running. اوكي ليش؟ لانه your data your code should be clean. اوكي you should already الاندرويد ستوديو completion عم يعطيك كل خلينا نقول انا المساعده لحتى بس فكر بس انه شو الشيء اللي انت بدي I want to set text. قول set text بيعطيك الكومبليشن وبيعطيك كل الريكوايرمنت والارجيومنت وبيساعدك هلا هذا الارجيومنت لها شو المطلوب وشو شو الديسكربشن له والثاني ارجيومنت والثاني والريتيرن تبعه شو حيكون. So it's doing most of the job of you. So you don't have to memorize them. It's an open book. إذا عم نحكي عن advanced mobile development. Open book. فيك تجيب الكتاب، فيك تجيب كل السلايدات، فيك تجيب كل اللي بدك إياه معك. أوكي؟ It's not accepted إنك تسلم الكود منه clean. يعني ما بيعمل compile، ما بيعمل run. It should run. هلا بتيجي تقول لي والله أنا عندي شيء، عندي مشكلة فيه، بدي أحطه بس ما عم يعمل run، بتحطه ضمن الهاش. أوكي؟ حطه ضمن الهاش انه والله هيدا قسم الكود ما عم يعمل ران بس انا بدي احطه ما قدرت ما كان الوقت اسعفني. اوكي otherwise you have to compile your code. كمان بموضوع الموبايل information system you should practice a lot لحتى يكون عندك capability to know what is the required methodology for implementing any of the functions او any of the خلينا نقول انا arguments any of the adapters كل الكومبوننت لحتى تقدر تطبقهم بيكون عندك a complete practice on them. So practice. تمام؟ انا لهون اليوم تقريبا كل اللي انا بدي اقوله قلته. There's a lot of text box available for you. اوكي هلا في الاندرويد 6 اذا حدا بده they are available online. You can download them. It's from detail. فعندنا الاندرويد programming، فعندنا الاندرويد for the application development. They are very nice, they are very helpful. You can get them. أنا عندي إياهم إذا بدكم. I can provide you with them. Whatever information you need are available, but you need to start practicing when working on the Android. تمام. There are a lot of training, useful link for training, for guiding, for SDK itself, and document for Android development. Please go through it. Okay. Similar online courses available online. As for UDACT, there are beginner courses, intermediate courses, advanced courses. You have Udemy. Okay. There are several online courses for Google developer training. As for Android development fundamentals, as I told you, most of the application I implemented I didn't spend time. يعني أنا ما ضيعت وقت لحتى أعمل preparation for all the content. أنا Android عندهم 5000 developer and trainer and people who are preparing the material and I really they were very helpful for me to help you to have this knowledge about this course. And it's very helpful actually انه انتم حتى تروحوا تحاولوا تشوفوا كل الجايدنس الموجود وكل الانفورميشن الموجوده about the development. Okay. I want هون عم نحكي first app tutorial. حقيقة I will خلي هيدا section للنهار الثلاثاء بكرة. We will continue where we reach in our لأن هون عم نحكي Android installation, creating, running, graphical user interface, layout, listener, emulator. هودي already نحن مقطعين فيهم واخذنا information عنهم. حدا عنده أي سؤال لهلا؟
لا دكتور بس الحال. ميرسي.
Great. كثير منيح. Again please الكل يروح يبلش يعمل practice لانه it's not accepted ان انت تسلم الكود منه practice so عفوا منه running, so if you do practice it will be easy for you to know whatever the steps to go through. If you don't practice enough راح يكون عندكم مشاكل, so please start practice all the methods. انا عم طبقهم وحده in front of you in the lab. You can implement each step of them. وإذا طلع عندك أي مشاكل there are a lot of resources to help you مثل ما شفنا بقلب developers.android reference Android content and other a lot of other. حتى فيك تفوت على الجافا جافا دوك guide. خلينا نقول string method. okay, Oracle guide Java اوكي. مثلا هذا example كمان نفس الشيء. اذا بنروح على الجافا باكج اوكي documents رح نلاقي حتى الميثودولوجي of presenting the data are similar. اذا انا بدي السترينج function او ميثود او كلاس عفوا بقلب الجافا راح يفرجيني انه هي مثلا extended from object, يعني هي it's a super, هي المين منها inherited from any class. So it give you all the parameters. okay, implements, what does it implement, the equivalent, حتى ممكن تعطيك example of implementing this method. okay, so the constructor and description. okay, so everything, all the information, argument بتاخدها, الاختلاف بالاوردر of the arguments, شو بيختلف الميثود اللي انت عم تستخدمها باختلاف type of the argument and the order of the argument and so on. okay, all the information are really available and you have to go through it. تمام؟ واضح للكل؟ so هودي اساسا المفروض انتم بالليسانس انتم بالماستر المفروض you know all of this, but anyway to refresh you can go through all of this. معنا الوقت نحن نرجع نبلش Java programming from scratch, but انتم already اخدينا, so you can just go refresh yourself about everything and be ready to practice Java and to practice implementing object-oriented أو sorry Android development on Android Studio. okay.
اوكي دكتور.
يعطيكم العافية. إذا حدا عنده سؤال يتفضل, إذا لا نشوفكم بكرة إذا الله راد بالليكتشر بكرة.
باي. ميرسي بوكو.
ميرسي. يعطيكم العافية. باي. الله معك.